All right, so this video is to walk you through how to show your artistic thinking process for the bad art project. Now, this actually applies to any project that you're working on. This is how you work through those steps and what it could look like. I'm going to give you a lot of different options, and yours might look different. Yours could all be in your sketchbook, but if you wanted to do this in, let's say, a Google Slide presentation, you can do it in a Google Slide presentation also. So the first stage of that artistic thinking process is inspiration. So as you provide evidence for inspiration, some of the things that you might do is start to explore, ask questions about themes, media, process, experience, guiding questions, new skills. So really for us, the guiding question on this is, what is bad art? And the way we started with this was actually we figured out what good art was in our mind. So part of the inspiration for this, you're going to have to determine one aspect or one way you think you could make a piece of bad artwork. You're going to have to make multiple pieces of bad artwork. So this step of inspiration, you might want to come up with a couple different ideas. So what is bad art? If I think of different ways I could approach this, I could think about media and process. So are there any types of media, which is how an artwork is made or what it's made with, that I don't like personally, that's not part of my personal aesthetic? And if I think of that, usually there's no like type of art as far as watercolor or tempera paint or sculpture or digital art that I don't like personally. However, I will get caught up in how people use the material. So if I say what is bad art and I'm looking at the media or process, one of my cringe-worthy things is watercolor paint applied opaquely. So this is very personal. This might not be on somebody else's list for bad art. The other thing I can think of when I think of media process, if something's very sloppy, so there's not very good craftsmanship. And then if I think about the media and process, if somebody took, let's say, 2 minutes to make it, I have a problem with that. So not a lot of time. All right, so I am thinking through media and process, things to me that I feel like are bad art or not good art. The other thing is under here, themes. So are there any themes that I feel like are not appropriate for good art? So themes for me, and again, this is for me. You have a different opinion. So things that I look at and I kind of roll my eyes, that I'm like, okay, that's just already been done before. So I'm going to say already been done. And for me, things that are cliche or trite. So cute little puppy dogs and rainbows, like I've seen it already over and over. It's very cliche. Or when somebody does, a broken heart, and they do, the symbol for a broken heart. That's cliche to me because it's kind of the first thing that comes to mind. So that is kind of themes or subject that I think are part of kind of bad art. The other thing I could do is concepts or big ideas. So these are all places that I could start when I'm choosing to make this artwork. So concepts are big ideas. These are like messages that people want to convey in their artwork. For me, love or cute. These things, again, kind of go back to being cliche or trite. And like an emotion. I just want to show an emotion. All right. So these are all different ways that I could start. And I'm just getting inspiration, and I'm going to make one artwork, starting with one of these things, or it might combine many of them. So the next step is development. So when I start to develop, I am going to plan, research, sketch, list, experiment, find source images, do a visual journal, make a mind map, brainstorm, practice. So let's say for me, the first thing I thought about was watercolor applied opaquely. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with watercolor. And I already have a lot of experience seeing bad watercolor, what I consider bad watercolor. So I don't really need to look up, but I think I might do a quick Google search of watercolor images, artwork, and see what I can find. And what I'm going to do in order to document that is either, like I said, I could start a Google slide, or I could make kind of a list. So it is opaque. When I see that, it's kind of applied very opaquely. There's not water mixed in. Water not mixed in. The other thing I notice is that no mixing of colors. And then I see people using white, quote unquote, white watercolor. So this is all very personal for me. You might use watercolor like this. I don't want you to be offended. This is what this process is kind of working through and making something you would be considered the opposite of good art based on your personal aesthetic. So that could be one start. I can get my watercolor set out. I can start to do practices in that method or technique. I could also think about what would be sloppy craftsmanship for watercolor. So when one area bleeds into another, and it's not controlled, or I didn't want it like that. The other thing is, okay, if I'm going to do an artwork based on watercolor, what am I going to actually make artwork about? So that's where I can draw in one of these themes or concepts and combine it. So in this development phase, you should have some practice with your material, whatever you think you're going to use. And this is just because the point of this assignment is not to waste materials. It is actually just to make artwork so that you develop and plan out what you're going to do here. So maybe I'm going to start a thumbnail sketch, and this thumbnail sketch is going to show one thing I didn't, talk about is that when the focal point's right in the middle. So I'm going to do that little heart cliche. Broken heart. Oh, broken heart. Broken heart. Seen it many times. This is going to be my composition. And I'm putting it right in the middle. And then I'm going to practice some watercolor technique there, maybe over here or on here before I make my final artwork. So to document the creation process is actually going to be your artworks. So whatever those final artworks are going to be, that would be the creation stage. Part of the creation stage, though, final artwork. So that would not be present, let's say in your sketchbook, that would be on a separate piece of paper or a canvas. Part of the creation is going to be your artist statement. So the artist statement tells us about your artwork, what it's about, what you were thinking of, what you were trying to achieve. So you are going to make an artist statement, kind of pretending that you weren't making bad art. So you're going to tell the thought process of a person who's making this artwork, and their artist statement is going to explain about it, but you're not going to say, I'm trying to make bad artwork, so I did this, 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 and this. Your artist statement is kind of a fake statement from the perspective of someone who's making that artwork, who is actually thinking they're making good artwork. So in your creation phase, again, this could just be typed statements, and it could be in a Google slide and next to it. But this is actually going to be what you turn in. And then the last step is reflection and presentation. So you are going to kind of evaluate, maybe you want to get some peer feedback. So if you got peer feedback, then you would write down, so-and-so, Sadie said, da, 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 or I showed this to my mom. She thought it was good artwork. So maybe I didn't accomplish what I was trying to do. So that kind of walks you through. As you begin this assignment, you're going to spend some time here, inspiration and development, before you get to the creation and reflection. And these two steps, this is the most important as far as documenting what you're doing and working on this project.